and girls, our next project is one about planet Earth and different habitats. So you're going to think about which habitat you want to draw, and each ecosystem has plants and animals that interact, and everything is linked together. So you're going to think about what's in there. For instance, this is a book. This is where I got all these amazing illustrations about planet Earth. And I'll show you some of the illustrations that are also in a calendar. These are a little bit bigger, so you could see, for instance, in this one, which is the barrier reef, you'll have all the different corals and plants that are in here. This one here, the savanna. So each ecosystem has completely different things. So we're going to be creating a jar, and inside that jar you're going to add all the different animals that pertain to that habitat or ecosystem. So think about, is it cold, is it hot, does it have sand, does it have ice, does it have snow? Think about the colors, realistic type colors that would go with the animals. Are they underground, overground, or water? We're also going to think about different colors. So your focal point or your point of interest is what's inside your jar. So you've seen different shapes of jars, and then outside would be a contrasting color. So if inside is blue, I'm going to do something different than blue for the outside. So I'll show you the one that I created was an ocean themed. So you're going to choose a theme. You're going to choose, so mine was with ocean, with corals, and all the types of fish that would live in that specific ocean. And then I have ocean, and on top I have sky. And then on the background is a color that will make it pop. So let's get started. We are first going to start drawing the shape of a jar for our biome. So here is just a visual of different shapes that you could use, or you can also come up with your shape. I think I'm going to be making one like this. So we're going to take this is a 9 by 12 piece of drawing paper, and we're going to try to make it symmetrical. So to make it symmetrical, a trick is to take your paper, fold it in half, make a slight crease, and then with your pencil you're going to start drawing the shape of your jar at the top. Now remember that we're only drawing half of the shape at this point, so I'm going to start at the top and make this little round shape here, and then it comes out a little bit all the way. Now remember to make your jar large so that we can fit many animals and elements of your world inside the jar. I'm gonna go all the way here, and I'm gonna come back and add kind of a little stand at the bottom. So remember, this is just half of your biome. At this point I'm going to take a Sharpie and Sharpie the lines that we just drew. Now the next step could be a little bit confusing. You're going to take your paper and fold it again in half. And I can barely see my Sharpie, so basically I'm going to trace on this side again barely see it. And I have another piece right here. And the stand. Now I'm going to open it up again. And now I can see it on the other side. So I'm just going to complete the drawing. So this technique really helps us make shapes that are symmetrical, which means they are the same on both sides without using a ruler. So this is a pretty simple way, easy way to make it. So now that I have my jar, I'm going to decide on which kind of world I'm going to be drawing in here. And I think that I will be drawing an ocean. So there are different, for instance, if you're doing the rainforest, you would have all these different elements, different kinds of vegetation, animals. The desert also is a different one. And I'm going to be making an ocean. And it will ultimately look something like this. So these handouts are really, really helpful because there's so many elements. For instance, in my ocean, I have a turtle, I have a dolphin, a shark, and lots of corals, different types of fish. So this will help me in my composition. Of course, you can add any other thing that you would like, get your inspiration from other sources. So this is just basically a starting point. Now that our sketch is ready and I have sharpied, I am going to erase all my pencil lines. Hold your paper really well so that it doesn't wrinkle up on you. A little bit more here and here. That's why when you're sketching, it's always good to sketch lightly so that it's not too hard to erase. Now for the coloring part, I'm going to be using pencils. Now these are watercolor pencils. They're really cool because at the end you have the option of adding water and the colors will really become much more bright. So I do recommend watercolor pencils, and then we'll also use just crayons, just because their tip is much bigger than a pencil. But these ones do not, you can't, if you put water on them, they will not become brighter. So a combination of these two. I'm going to start with my background with my watercolor pencils, and then I'm going to add all my other details. Now I'm going to continue adding a few details here before I work on my background. So I did some layering here with the watercolor pencils and added all my details with crayons. Now right here on this part here, I'd like to add the name of my biome, which is ocean. So I'm going to write it in Sharpie, and just something really simple. So I'm gonna try to use nice handwriting if possible, and then maybe I can add just a few other details to make it a little bit more interesting. So think about designs, lines that would go with your theme. I'm just going to make some lines right here, kind of like waves, and then maybe here circles, and then right here maybe some large circles, kind of like bubbles. So I'm going to continue this for a while, and then in the background, when I'm done with my patterns, I am going to think about what color would look good as to contrast with my ocean biome. So in my ocean biome, I have lots of blues. The background is mainly blue, so I am going to use in the background something more contrasting, which would be, I'm thinking yellows and oranges and reds, maybe like an ombre going from yellow to red in the background. I'm going to be using, again, the watercolor pencils, so that if I choose to add water, I can, to make it brighter. But if you only have pencils, that also looks really well. Remember that you can layer your pencils. You can also layer your crayons to add interest. Right now I'm just working on my details, and I usually like to use a Sharpie because it is a waterproof marker, and since I might be adding water, it's a good idea to have it waterproof, otherwise it will bleed and that would not be fun. So just small details. You can think about different types of lines. And I want to make sure that I can see my lines a little bit more. So I'm going to make this just a little bit thicker. Alright, so I'm going to do my background and then add some water.